sermon is going to be based on change in life. Let's open the book of Acts, chapter 9. Start off verse 1. Ready? Saul, still breathing threats and murder against the disciples of the Lord, went to the high priest and asked him for letters to the synagogues at Damascus, so that if he found any belongs to the way, men or women, he might bring them bound to Jerusalem. Now as he went on his way, he approached Damascus, and suddenly a light from heaven shone around him. And falling to the ground, he heard a voice saying to him, "Saul, Saul, why are you persecuting me?" And he said, "Who are you, Lord?" And he said, "I am Jesus, whom you are persecuting, but rise and enter the city, and you will be told what you are to do." The men who were traveling with him stood speechless, hearing the voice, but seeing no one. Saul rose from the ground, and although his eyes were open, he saw nothing. So they led him by the hand and brought him to Damascus. And for 3 days he was without sight and neither ate or drank. So looking at verse 1, what the question that came to me at first, why is Saul angry? Why is he doing these evil things, of all these evil works? We know that Saul witnessed the crucifixion of Jesus, and so he's probably thinking Jesus is not alive. And all of these believers, these believers that are sharing God are believing in a non-real God. And in verse 2, the way, if you guys notice, the way men or women, that's a connection with John 14:6, for I am the way, the truth, and the life. In verse 3 and 4, this is where it gets good. I'm going to reread it a little bit. Now as he went on his way, he approached Damascus, and suddenly a light from heaven shone around him. So this is where God comes in and reveals himself. And falling to the ground, he heard a voice saying to him, "Saul, Saul, why are you persecuting me?" He didn't say persecuting, my people, my believers. He said persecuting me, just like he's the head, we're the body. If one receives pain, so does the other. And then in verse 5, and this is where Saul responds, "Who are you, Lord?" That's where I found it's interesting. He asks, "Who are you?" But he knows who it is. And this kind of meant that he had a past with Jesus. He knew him, but is still rejecting him. So Saul is breaking into the homes of believers and dragging them into jails. And so we see through these top 5 verses, Saul doesn't really know Jesus. He went through a lot, but it kind of shows us the difference between text. And so Saul is experiencing what the difference is to knowing Jesus and knowing about Jesus. And so this part of chapter 9 exposes what it means to know him. I don't know about you guys. I see a lot of new people, might be new believers. The question for you tonight is, are you guys believing in God, or do you guys know God, or do you guys know about God? There's a big difference, and it really will. This is where your drive comes in to serving Him. You might be saying, I'm new here. I'm not ready. I'm not ready to take this responsibility. I'm a blank slate. I have no talents. I have no gifts. I have nothing to even give God. If we move forward to verse 6 and 9, let's want to read it. Rise and enter the city, and you will be told what you are to do. The men who were traveling with him stood speechless, hearing the voice, but seeing no one. Saul rose from the ground, and although his eyes were open, he saw nothing, so they led him by the hand and brought him into Damascus. And for 3 days he was without sight, and neither ate nor drank. And Jesus says, rise and enter the city, and you will be told what to do. Saul lost sight, and he was without water and food for 3 days. God was basically humbling him, and through this process to reveal him his plan. And you can see what God was doing here. This is Jesus preparing Saul for maturity and what he has for him. And then we're going to jump to verse 10 and 12. Now there was a disciple at Damascus named Ananias. The Lord said to him in a vision, Ananias, he said, "Here I am, Lord." And the Lord said to him, "Rise and go to the street called Straight, and at the house of Judah look for a man of Tarsus named Saul, for behold, he is praying. And he has seen in a vision a man named Ananias come in and lay his hands on him so that he might regain his sight." And there's one, so this ordinary disciple of God, no special, bless you. there's not a special guy. He gets a vision from God to go lay his hands on this evil man. But he says, "Lord, I have heard from many about this man," in the next verse. And he's freaked out. Imagine like if God sent you a vision to speak to someone in the Middle East. This is how it kind of is. You're guaranteed to get killed. But God is saying, "Go, for he is a chosen instrument." God uses the ordinary. And Ananias was just a disciple, but as you continue to read, Saul's life is completely transformed through him. And he's a new man. Maybe one of you tonight is Ananias, and God is ready to use you in a miraculous way. He wants to use you to change that friend's life that you have, or he's trying to change your life. And I'm happy you guys are here tonight. You might be here tonight saying, "I'm not gifted, I'm not ready. This is my first time, this is maybe my second time." God is looking for the people with the desire in their heart. Desire to serve. You don't have to be a special one. And God will take care of talent and gift. If you're here tonight and you have accepted Christ in your heart, you're already a chosen vessel. God already planned it all out. He's just waiting for you to make that next step. And so my sermon's called "When Jesus Calls." So are you willing to go into that deep end? Are you willing to trust him? Are you willing to risk your life to save another one?